As you can see, this garden has gotten quite out of control. Oh, here's a beautiful monarch. Let's see if we can get a little closer. Enjoying the zinnia. That is beautiful. It makes me happy to see the nature is enjoying my flowers. Isn't that beautiful? I'm not sure I've seen a monarch yet. Let's try to get a little closer. What a beauty. And everything here is quite tall, taller than me. You can see the elephant ears are absolutely enormous. My giant zinnias are enormous, and I do have my canna lilies blooming and bringing in some hummingbirds. A couple of those fell over in the torrential rain. We had 4 inches of rain 2 days ago, and it is just unbelievable amounts of rain this summer. I don't know what to think about it. We normally have drought this time of year in July and August. So anyway, on this August garden tour, you will see some things that have been beaten down by the rain. For example, these zinnias here, and also some of my tall rudbeckia. The cut leaf rudbeckia that gets to be 8 feet tall. If it didn't have any support in front of it, it fell forward. So unfortunately, but over here where it was at the back of the border, let me show you over here. This 8 foot tall rudbeckia is still standing up, but it's behind grasses and shrubs and all kinds of things. So definitely a back of the border plant as it's so tall. And then over here, every year I get all excited about squash vines. I feel like Cinderella and a magical squash vine, but at some point they do get to be quite messy. So I have removed a few of the vines that were browning out, and I removed the fruit off of them, and they're curing up in the polytunnel. I've got a few squash up here that's curing. I covered it with a basket because last time I think a squirrel got to it. But I have a couple of spaghetti squashes. This is a mystery squash. It might even be a small pumpkin. And I have one butternut squash. And all of these were on totally brown vines. You have to wait till the vine is completely brown. So yeah, that's going to be my squash harvest, other than the one that's stuck. Not a very big squash harvest this year. Little by little, the squash vines are past their prime. I did have a spaghetti squash in the back, which is stuck into my trellis. So I'll have to see how I'll get that one out. I can't even bend over to reach it right now, but maybe if it cures, I can just cut it in half and carefully remove the halves. I'll cure it in place. But as you can see, still very lush, overtaking all of my shrubs, and still quite magical in my opinion, but this is the time of year where it doesn't look as magical as it used to. This ancient Rose of Sharon is an old style, and it drops seeds everywhere and creates all these little seedlings. It is not a sterile variety. And with the torrential rains this year, it has really outgrown its spot. It leans way down further than that when it's wet, and we actually have an appointment to have it taken out. It is just way outgrown the space. It drops all of its messy flowers all over the deck, all over our furniture, and it turns slimy, and then the ants come. So yes, it's really ruining the whole feel over here. And guys, sometimes it's just better to take out an ancient shrub that just doesn't serve your purpose anymore. So hopefully on the next video that will be out. Let me give you a bird's eye view over here. I am starting to get some more geraniums coming back. When it gets really hot, they stop sending up flowers, but we have had a couple of cooler days since our torrential rains. But look at this jungle, guys. This is just crazy. Next year, I'm gonna go for more of a tailored look down here, but this year, this is the year of the jungle. Oh, and our butterfly is still there. Let's get a closer look. Beautiful. love how the topiary gardens are looking, and the boxwoods in the containers are enjoying a lot of rain. And my black wrought iron urns look fantastic with this sedum. I highlighted them in my short, but they're starting to blush, and they look so beautiful in August and September. So I'm really happy to have those in there. And then over here in the sun garden, used to be a shade garden, I have done a lot of work that I didn't think I could do. I removed all of the sickly hostas that were getting scorched out in the sun, and I added a couple pots. I'm composting in them, and I'm going to add dirt, and I will decide what to plant in them. But this little area is a perennial flower garden. Doesn't look like much this year, but I bought some cone flowers, 3 cone flowers, and I put in some penstemon that I grew from seed, those 4. And then over here, looking quite upset about being transplanted, are 3 salvias, which I don't think will look good at all this year, but next year they'll look good. And in the back, I transplanted some tiger lilies. And my salvia and tiger lilies came from a back garden that has become so shaded that there's no way they're going to do well there. So I kind of killed 2 birds with 1 stone by transplanting plants that weren't doing well into an area where they will do well. And I think that's going to look really nice next year. Oh, the only other 2 things I put in are over here, and that's catmint. And that was in a container I had. So everything I had in here, apart from the cone flowers, which are new, are either seed grown or transplanted in. And it looks pretty sparse now, but I'm hoping to have a pretty perennial flower garden next year. But I think it looks a lot better without the dying hostas. And then these are temporary, just here this year. And I'm gonna leave them there even though they look awkward, because they actually provide some shade to my newly planted perennials. And I think that will help them settle in, especially given that it's August. We have had some days this week in the upper 90s. So they will stay there looking awkward until I pull them out before the frost. And next year I'll just plant them farther back in my landscape. And then over here I still have my lily of the valley. It will die back for sure in August, I think. That's all the ground cover back here. And my lantana is loving the heat. It is absolutely thrilled about the temperatures approaching 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's doing really well. And I'm gonna make a note to myself to definitely include more of those in my containers next year. Back here, I have my azaleas that I moved back from back in the woods where it was way too shady and they hadn't bloomed for a couple years. So I moved them forward here. I think they're gonna enjoy getting more sun. And then I have a mini mauvette hydrangea, which I think I planted in April. And of course you've seen across the back my emerald green arborvitae. So instead of having dead hostas here, I've put in some shrubs. And I'm feeling really good about it. I did leave these 2 hostas because they are in the shade of this huge burning bush. So I think those can remain. And if I'm mistaken and they don't survive the new conditions without the pine tree, then I will remove those as well. But I was actually surprised that I could get the hostas out at all, but it wasn't too bad of a job. Here I have some very scraggly looking black-eyed Susans, which I transplanted from other areas of the yard, which will look a lot better next year. And I put in some daylilies over here because they can handle being near a bird feeder with sunflower seeds dropping. Sunflower seeds have a chemical. And next to the bird bath over here, I transplanted in some lamb's ear. So guys, primarily, other than my mini mauvette hydrangea and my 3 new cone flowers, this whole garden has been furnished with plants from other areas in my garden where they weren't doing well. So I'm pretty happy about the sun garden at the moment. Even though it looks a little puny at this stage, I think next year it's gonna look gorgeous. My little shade garden up here is doing really well without any input from me this year. Absolutely nothing has been done up here, and all the different varieties of hosta have just taken care of themselves. And over here in the corner, I have a hydrangea that likes its spot. So that is, I think it's a Let's Dance hydrangea. So it's done well over there. And my spider plants, which are actually indoor plants, are doing great. I think they like all the rain we've gotten. But I love having a maintenance-free garden, guys, especially when my efforts are limited this year. I really like this garden from this angle with all this beautiful purple opal basil. And the zinnias I transplanted in are about to burst open into bloom. So I think that's going to be a really pretty combination with purple Prince zinnia and purple basil. The polytunnel beds are looking much better since I reworked them. Something that I'm really hopeful about is that my birdhouse gourds may be producing some gourds. We will see, but if you can see, we have these here maybe forming up. We'll see if they got pollinated. But I have heard that this type of gourd is really late to produce. So we'll see what happens. I have kept in my eggplant. And this is a white knight eggplant. That one looks pretty good. But they have been affected by, I think, flea beetles. Looks like I have a couple to pick. I have another one back here. So I have to bring out my little pruners and get those. But I just pruned some of the basil to make pesto. And up here, I do have some marigolds that are blooming. These are some of my monster marigolds. So something about this spot has made them bloom. These are the crazy ones from my own seed, but it's nice to have a little bit of bright color that I can even see from the house. Even down from looking out my windows, I can see this beautiful bright orange. And that's another reason that I like these cosmos. They're just so bright, and I'm collecting seeds off of them. This is what it looks like when you can collect seed. These black pieces, once they open like a firework, are ready to be harvested. So I'll be planting those next year. Those are my seeds. The lighter stuff is the chaff, but the black part is seeds. So that's always exciting when you get to collect your own seeds. And again, that bright orange is a color I always like to use up here. This excites me to no end, this tiny little zinnia flower, because this was from a cutting that I made. And over here, this is also a zinnia cutting, and it looks like it's putting up a bud. So I might have gotten a couple of free zinnias from my other zinnias. And things are just looking neater and more lush since I replanted it. This bed, a lot of the sweet potato is taking over. I think there's only one planted down here, and it just has kind of gone all around the edge. And that was my plan. I really wanted it to cover the surface of the soil. And I have some squashes in here which may or may not produce. We'll see. We'll see. It got awfully hot, and sometimes when it gets up to like 97 and 98, plants will not produce fruit because they do need a lot of water to do that. And if they dry out in the heat, it's just not the ideal time. But what I'm hoping is that if it starts cooling off a bit and being more reasonable temperatures like today we're in the 80s, maybe I'll get some squash. We'll see. So I'm happy that those beds look better. And I'm really happy that through a lot of gradual effort, I've been able to revamp my garden down here where we lost the pine tree. And I think next year it's gonna look pretty. Right now it looks patchy. Some of the plants look a little puny, but next year I have great hopes for this garden. So thanks so much for watching, guys. That is the update. I hope you're having reasonable weather where you are and having fun in your gardens. I'll see you next time.